When you hear people complaining about the WWE, about its storyline drivel and its PG-friendly approach, you'll often hear something along the lines of, "Why does so-and-so put up with it?" And while I would like to sit here and tell you that it's because they see Vince's pyramid scheme of hopes and dreams as the grandest stage in the world to ply their craft, it may actually come down to something much more depressing: their paycheck. It's no secret that there is still tons of money to be made in wrestling. I mean, get a good agent, get a good brand, and you can reasonably take care of yourself for a fair few years. However, the transactions that we're going to be talking about today border on the ludicrous. So let's see where all that money we give to the WWE and its ilk goes, shall we? As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 insane wrestling paydays. Number 10, The Ultimate Warrior, $500,000 for SummerSlam 1991. There are two versions of the events that took place backstage at Madison Square Garden ahead of Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan's SummerSlam 1991 main event. One of them is the gleeful misinterpretation spewed out in the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, and the other is the truth. In the DVD, a visibly pissed off Vince talks about how Warrior held a gun to his head, figuratively of course, and demanded a one-off payment. Sergeant Slaughter later revealed that the controversial sum amounted to $500,000, which was no small stack for a single night's work. But the question is, can you steal what was already supposed to be yours? What I mean by that is that decades later, correspondence between the two revealed that Vince had promised the figure along with other demands dished out by the former WWE champion that brought him in line with Hulk Hogan's own astronomical earnings. So it wasn't a hold-up, just a deal made by Vince. Still though, Warrior pocketed a small fortune that August night, that's for damn sure. Number 9, Mark Henry. $250,000 per annum for 10 years. Mark Henry's recent Hall of Fame induction was vindication for a career well spent in sports entertainment. And while Vince would like us to remember how good his 2011 title run was, we're going to talk about how for years the owner tried to chase Henry out of his company. You see, Vince had contracted Henry to a 10-year deal for $250,000 each year. That's mad. And soon Vince realized that maybe he'd overstretched and tried to push Henry to the side with terrible creative booking. But Henry stuck with it. I mean, for $250,000 every year, I too would embarrass myself. Hell, I mean, you've seen our list, we do that for next to nothing as it is. After the contract expired, many were sure that we'd be saying goodbye to the world's strongest man. But no, he got another one, which made Mark Henry one of the most unlikely lifers of the organization. Number 8, Mike Tyson, $3.5 million for WWE WrestleMania 14. In 2008, WWE trumpeted that Floyd Money Mayweather was due to earn $20 million for his work with the company up to and including WrestleMania 24. This was carnival barking, of course, but the undefeated boxer still netted a rumored $2 million for his impressive display. Remarkably though, this was actually a saving for the company compared to the even greater investment that they'd made a decade earlier. The baddest man on the planet, Mike Tyson, was paid $3.5 million for his WrestleMania enforcer spot and sporadic appearances between January and March to build to the match itself. He was, of course, ultimately worth every single penny. Whether intentional or not, the company had latched on to the one celebrity most associated with everything they wanted to be seen as, and they were clearly prepared to pay for it. Number 7, David Arquette, around $1 million for WCW Slamboree 2000. It still boggles the mind that David Arquette won the World Heavyweight Championship, especially when you hear accounts that he was only meant to have a cameo role within the company at first. However, nothing is more mind-blowing than knowing how much they paid him for the privilege. So while WCW was hemorrhaging money and stiffing employees about pay, they still managed to find nearly $1 million for the former Scream star to make his appearance. Still though, while it was a shot in the face for many fans at the time, we have to recognize the absolute classy move that Dave pulled out towards the end of his brief run. He donated his entire pay to the family of deceased wrestlers Owen Hart, Brian Pillman, and Bobby Duncombe Jr., which makes a bizarre situation where, while his victory might have killed wrestling for some, even Arquette had more respect for the industry than WCW itself at the time. Number 6, Lanny Poffo, $800,000 for absolutely nothing. Lanny Poffo referred to himself as the world's smartest man after trading frisbees and a frown for his mortarboard and a gown. But he'd never make a more astute move than when he signed on the dotted line with WCW in 1995. Real-life brother Randy Savage had been with the company just under a year when he got his sibling a guaranteed deal worth 7 figures over several years. It turns out that Savage had purchased the rights to the Gorgeous George gimmick with his brother in mind, but the persona never made it to television, and Poffo remarkably never even made it to work. Though not making a killing without bookings to top his nominal guarantee, he nonetheless received regular paychecks to the tune of $200,000 per annum for doing absolutely nothing. Poffo has since professed to regularly hounding the WCW office by telephone for updates on his status at the time, but was regularly rebuffed by disinterested or freewheeling executives during the brand's headiest days. Number 5. Bret Hart, $2.5 million per annum for 5 years. Never had a man looked so sad to be earning so much. Now, we all know, thanks to multiple and quite extensive retellings of the Montreal Screwjob, about the backstage politics and lack of love between the Hitman and the big man, McMahon. But what many glaze over in their rush to get to that juicy spitting section is the amount of money that was being changed hands at the time between Bret and WCW. Bret had, a year prior to his exit, signed a 20-year deal with the WWE. 20 years, that's mind-blowing, and was meant to see Bret move from in-ring to road agent over the course of the contract. Things soured, and the pair split, with Bret moving over to WCW, where they offered him $2.5 million per year for 5 years. That is ludicrous amounts of money, but one that the Hitman could pull thanks to all the eyes being on him through his nasty exit and years of in-ring excellence. Now, they say that money can't buy you happiness. Well, for that I say that you've never met your mum, as she does wonders with her a pound for a pound promo that she's been running, and with Bret, you'd think that to be true, but it still can't hurt, seeing as he's not had to do much since his retirement in 2000, and also, yes, that was my one per list. Number 4. Triple H, $2.8 million per annum for WWE executive duties. The game has truly proven to everyone that he sure knows how to play it, and when you know how much he was raking in, you have to wonder if he's been putting in the cheat codes as well, seeing as he's one of the most ingenious success stories ever. Now, Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin earned untold fortunes thanks to Vince McMahon's empire, but Hunter instead chased after an altogether different precious metal, the keys to the kingdom. From officially marrying into the family business in 2003, Triple H moved from the bedroom to the boardroom in 2011, and now, thanks to some of the smartest decisions made by the company, is Vice President of Talent, helping NXT remain one of the most impactful arms of the business for fans and making a tidy sum of money each year for it. Not bad for a man who systematically buried talent for most of his career to now be nurturing it. Number 3. Jeff Jarrett, $500,000 for No Mercy 1999. When Jeff Jarrett insisted on a payout of $500,000 in order to go out and lose as planned to China at No Mercy 1999, he believed that he was right to do so. The story has often been presented as if Double J was on the take, holding up the then prestigious Intercontinental title 24 hours before jumping to WCW due to a company failure to spot a lapsed contract. But the 2018 Hall of Famer has since protested the narrative. He believed that he was owed the figure in back pay and was determined to pocket it before he left. McMahon acquiesced, and Jarrett went all in, putting the ninth wonder of the world over in an outstanding brawl significantly richer than he was earlier that day. It was a good job that he saved his money though, because despite negotiating a hefty $275,000 per year deal from WCW, the company had folded less than 2 years after he made the leap, and he was completely frozen out of Vince's empire. From there, it was all TNA and muddy waters until he was finally welcomed back home, cow jacket and all. Number 2. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, $1,450,000 per annum for 6 years. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were famously made offers that they couldn't refuse when WCW went in hard on WCW during Eric Bischoff's aggressive mid-1990s hiring spree. And you know what? Why wouldn't they? They were offered huge sums of money and were allowed to work fewer dates. However, it wasn't just the 7-figure sums and the extra days off that made life too sweet for the soon-to-be-made outsiders. It was the bonuses. Now, Big Sexy himself detailed that their deal was that if any other performer got a bump in their pay, Hall and Nash would receive a bonus as well. This led to the duo making it up to $1.45 million minimum per annum by the time the company went out of business. Now that was a smart move, right? Nash might have blown his quads a lot back in the day, but there's little chance that he'll be blowing his wad anytime soon. And number 1, Brock Lesnar, $500,000 per pay-per-view and $100,000 per TV appearance. The Beast allegedly pocketed $500,000 per pay-per-view and $100,000 every time he turns up on television, and it belongs at the top of this list, not just because it is topical, it's also the closest the WWE have ever come to some of that WCW wastefulness elsewhere on this list. Now, we have covered in many other videos why someone earning this amount of money per appearance isn't just mind-blowing because of how much it costs, but also in what it's costing the company as a whole. But I will just give you the cliff notes. Now, Lesnar is a monster through and through, but he's one that's holding a false economy. He's a man that many claim is holding the company to ransom, but he's one that Vince is letting hold him to ransom because he believes Brock to be a ratings spike machine. Wheel him out, get the pops, cash in, and carry on is his mentality. Except it's one that's cutting the legs out from future stars and isn't always met with the response from the fans that Vince would like. Regardless of what you think of him, the Beast sure is pocketing absolute bank, and so too is Paul Heyman, who collects a literal agent's fee for those appearances despite not actually ever being Brock's agent. Now that is a brilliantly smart move that often gets overlooked. And there we go, those were 10 insane wrestling paydays. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. But before you go, my friends, here is a thought, a little digestive that you can take to the bank any day, and that is, I hope you are well. Whatever you are getting up to today, my friend, I hope that you are absolutely smashing it. And you know what? If you're not, if you're struggling with stuff, then remember, you can ask for help. There is absolutely no weakness in asking others for help because together we are stronger. So if you're struggling, remember, reach out, talk to people, and trust me, people care a lot more than you think. And if you want to chat about this or anything else to do with wrestling, gaming, or films, or comics, Jesus Christ, I do get about a lot, then you can chat to me at RetroJ over on Twitter. And as always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome, never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!